On September 1st, 1939, German armies smashed and quickly moved through Poland, starting the Second World War. No one knew what was about to happen at the time, but a new dawn of warfare was born. Blitzkrieg, or lightning war, was meant to quickly crush through enemy lines and advance without no retreat. No armies were prepared for what was going to come overall in this war, yet it was going to eventually be bad. Overall, in the course of the war caused 60 million deaths by 1945. It's the most destructive and costly conflict in human. From 1914 to 1918, Europe was at war. World War I ravaged all over the world and left millions dead. This is a map of Europe in 1914 with the German Kaiserreich, Austria-Hungary, and other countries that ceased to exist or were reduced after the First World War. After World War I, Germany had to sign the Treaty of Versailles in 1919 to the Allied powers. Germany's government became a democracy called the Weimar Republic instead of a monarchy. Here is a map of Germany in 1919 where the borders were drastically changed. Germany lost all her colonies and land was reduced in the Polish quarter given to Poland, Alsace-Lorraine given to France, and a demilitarized zone in the Rhineland where troops were forbidden to enter. Here is a map of Europe in 1919 where several border changes were made, such as the creation of Poland and Germany reduced in its size. Germany also suffered high hyperinflation for the repayments they had to make after the war, especially after the stock market crash of 1929, where money became useless. Also as a result of the treaty, Germany's army was greatly reduced to 100,000 soldiers. The newly formed Reichswehr was Germany's new army from 1919 to 1935. Germany was not allowed to have a large navy, nor an air force, or heavy armor material. The USSR also faced consequences by the Treaty of Versailles for dropping out of World War I in 1917 due to the Civil War. They faced changes in land similar to Germany, but they were not repaid like the Germans were for causing all the aggression during the war. In the 1920s and 30s, Europe saw a rise of dictators in Germany, Italy, and the USSR. These dictators wanted change to their countries due to the losses of war. The earliest dictator, Benito Mussolini of Italy, was one of the founders, if not the founder of fascism, and formed a dictatorship ruled with an iron fist. He became Prime Minister of Italy in 1922. He envisioned a new Roman Empire for the Italian people. Next was Joseph Stalin of the Soviet Union, coming to power in 1924, succeeded by Vladimir Lenin, the revolutionary who led the Communist Party to take over the Russian government in 1917. The USSR was established in 1922 under Lenin. Stalin wanted to spread communism all over. Next was Adolf Hitler of Austria, who was a veteran of World War I as he served in the German Empire. He, along with other nationalist Germans, were mad at the consequences given to Germany, so he wanted to make his own Germany and conquer land for the German people. Spain also turned into a dictatorship led by Francisco Franco in 1939 after they won the Spanish Civil War against Republican Spain, yet they were not directly a part of World War II. In 1935, Hitler's first step to wage war and break the Versailles Treaty was to rearm and grow the armed forces. Hitler announced the new army called the Wehrmacht in May of 1935, which had a foot army, air force, and navy, which was against the treaty. They also increased the size to the thousands and eventually to the millions, exceeding the original 100,000 troops for Germany. In 1936, He ordered troops to cross into the Rhineland, which was a demilitarized zone from 1919 to 1936 and was part of the Versailles Treaty. In March of 1938, Hitler annexed Austria into Germany to unify the people, and in 1939 invaded Czechoslovakia through the Munich Agreement, and eventually the Vienna Order made the puppet state Slovakia. At this point, alarm bells were going off in Britain and France, but no actions were done because no one wanted another war. In the USSR, Stalin started his 5-year plans to rebuild Russia's economy and industry starting from the 1920s. This is a chart showing all of his 5-year plans throughout his leadership. In the 1930s, Stalin purged many military officials, officers, and political figures in his Great Purge. Here's a photo that was edited out following the purge. The USSR joined the League of Nations in 1934, and during the Spanish Civil War in 1936, the USSR helped the Republicans against the Nationalists, who were being helped by Germany and Italy. In 1936, Stalin unveiled the Stalin Constitution for the people of the USSR. The USSR also wanted back Eastern Poland and the Baltics back in Soviet control, along with additional territories in 1939. On August 23, 1939, the Germans and the Soviets signed the Molotov-Ribbentrop Pact more than a week before the invasion of Poland. The pact concluded that Germany had claims on the Mill in western Poland, when the Soviets had claims in Finland, eastern Poland, the Baltic states, and the Bessarabia region in Romania. The pact was followed for 2 years until Germany broke it in 1941 when they invaded the USSR. On September 1st, 1939, Germany's armed forces attacked and marched into Poland with fierce fighting and quick victories with the tactic Blitzkrieg. Blitzkrieg is lightning war in German, and the tactic was meant to move quickly and annihilate the enemy and to achieve victory no matter what. The Germans used coordinated assaults and attacks using planes, heavy armor, mechanized infantry, and regular infantry to complete their objectives, so they don't have a trench war and a stalemate similar to World War I. The Germans reached the Polish capital of Warsaw on September 28, 1939, and Poland overall surrendered on October 6, 1939, marking the end of the invasion, but the war was just about to begin. The Soviets invaded on September 17, 1939, but we'll get to that later. Here, German troops are marching swiftly into Poland with the seams of no stopping or no defeat. The Soviet Union invaded eastern Poland on September 17, 1939, as the Germans were deep in Polish territory. The Red Army vastly outnumbered the Polish troops, and quick and easy victories were also accomplished from different strategies and tactics. Over 230,000 Polish POWs were captured by the Soviets, and by October the Polish armies were decimated by the Soviets and their German counterparts. Some German and Soviet troops often met on the field. On October 6, 1939, the invasion was over to a German and Soviet victory. After the invasion of Poland on September 1st, Britain and France declared war on Germany on September 3rd. After many warnings by the British Prime Minister Neville Chamberlain to not invade Poland, Hitler invaded anyway. War was then declared and the world was at war. No military action was taken by both sides in the first months of the war. During 1939 and 1940, a period called the Phony War was in effect during the early months of the war. Germany ended this phony war by taking action and invading France through the Low Countries in May of 1940, shortly after invading Denmark and Norway. After the invasion of Poland and the Phony War, Germany took the initiative by invading Denmark and Norway in 1940. They also invaded the Low Countries in France declaring a swift victory between the Western powers except for Britain. In 1941, Germany broke the Non-Aggression Pact and invaded the USSR, making great territorial advancements. By 1942, Germany had conquered all of Europe. They are just on the gates of Stalingrad, and the tide of the war has turned. In 1943, the Soviets pushed the Germans back, and the Allies invaded Sicily and Italy in summer of 1943. In 1944, the Soviets pulled off Operation Bagration, a major offensive in summer of 1944. The Western Allies also occupied France in Operation Overlord, also known as D-Day, which was a successful invasion. By 1945, the Western Allies and the Soviets were closing in on Germany, thus ending the war. The invasion of Poland cost 60 million lives due to the ambitions of conquest and dictatorships that felt wronged after the consequences of World War I. Many of the reasons of the start of World War II was because of the consequences of World War I and the Treaty of Versailles. World War II will remain to be the deadliest conflict in human history, and we must assure that war like that will never happen again.